Hi guys, and welcome back, or welcome for the first time. This time and this episode we'll talk about training methods and also day-to-day life and how to deal with unwanted behavior. Have fun, and if you have any questions, feel free to text me, email me. Alright, so I'm Anita, I'm your host, and I'm a professional dog trainer. And today I just want to introduce you to some feelings your dog might get from different trainings methods. First of all, yes, it's about unwanted behavior, but because we are kind of trained to look at the unwanted stuff rather than the nice things. So we often don't recognize behavior our dogs show us that we really like. We just recognize the red flags, so stuff that we just don't want. And I think this is very sad, and it's also a little problematic because our dogs show us so often something we really like, and they don't really get rewarded for it. The moment they show us something we don't want to see, we start interacting and we start doing stuff and worry about it. And to be honest, it would be much better way to react the moment our dogs show us something we like, or if we can see situations where our dogs are just uncomfortable, we should react when we see that our dog is uncomfortable, and not wait until there is some unwanted behavior. Because if a situation is uncomfortable for our dogs, they show us a lot of little signals that tell us that we need to help them or leave the situation or change the situation in some kind of way. So the moment we see these signals, we should act. And what happens is, when we do that, our dogs learn that even if they are uncomfortable, as soon as they ask us as their owners or their family for help, the situation will become easier or resolve itself. So we become the source of relief or good feelings or help, and that's exactly what we want. So in day-to-day life, we will always see behavior we don't really like or we don't want. And for me, it's important to observe these behaviors and just very objectively observe the situation. Can we live with the behavior? How often do we see it? Can we ignore it for this time because it doesn't occur very often? Or is it something that our dog shows us very often and we need to change it? Then we have different options of doing that. And for me, I don't really like any, for the sake of easiness, call it correction. It is in fact punishment, but it's often called correction, so I'm gonna do that too. And I don't really like doing that, because if it works, that the dog stops the behavior, then the dog feels either fear or pain. Those are the only options where the behavior will stop. And of course, we don't want that. The second thing is ignoring the behavior. But what it does to a dog is he gets frustrated and he will try the behavior in an increased level. So, for example, the dog jumps on people, and if we ignore that, he might jump and nibble. So the behavior gets worse. Because, yes, if the behavior occurs for the first time and we ignore it, the dog has no success with it, then he will most likely stop it. But in most cases, our dogs have already had some success with the behavior. And if we take the example of the jumping again, our dog sees the first person entering the house and jumps up, and the person reacts in some way. And as soon as the person reacts, it's no more ignoring. And if it's a very friendly dog, even telling him no or something like that is attention, and therefore it's a reward because he wants the attention. If it's a very fearful dog and he jumps out of fear to make the person go away, and the person tells him no or somehow corrects him, then the fear will increase, or the situation will become more uncomfortable. So the dog will increase the behavior because he still wants the person to go away, and therefore he will try harder to make it. So what we can do instead, and that's the third option and the one I would choose all the time, it's rewarding the behavior that comes before the unwanted one. Because before every unwanted behavior, there's something I can at least tolerate. But in most cases, it's really something that we like. So for the jumping example, it would be the dog runs up to the person and all paws are on the floor. And that's something I really want. So I can reward that. I just have to be fast enough. And as soon as the dog gets rewarded, and it has to be something that the dog wants, unfortunately we don't get to decide what is a reward and what's not. That's for the dog to decide. So the dog runs up to the person, and the person greets the dog and throws him a treat in the different direction. Then the dog will feel really nice, and for him it's like, oh, cool, I run up to this person and I get a treat and I get rewarded. And the necessity of jumping is just eliminated. So why should the dog jump again? It's not necessary. So what this means is the closer a reward is to the original purpose of the behavior, the better it is. So another example, you're walking your dog wants to go sniff. And to keep the leash from tensing up, you ask a dog to look at you, and your dog has two options. He does it or he doesn't. And if he does look at you, because he has already learned that that's a rewarding behavior, then you can run with him to the spot where he wanted to sniff. That would be a reward that's absolutely perfect for the situation, because it is exactly the same as the original intent of the behavior. So again, your dog wants to do something, you ask him to do something different, and if your dog obliges, you can just let him do what he wanted to do originally. For your dog, this is something that's very rewarding in itself. So your dog learns cooperation is always the way to go to get what he wants. And of course, if you look at the relationship between you and your dog, if your dog sees you as a source of good things and rewards, and he doesn't have any restrictions or any great restrictions, he will like to cooperate with you. And of course, we have to have some kind of boundaries, and we have to have restrictions. That's only logical. But we can communicate these boundaries and these restrictions in a way that our dogs have it very easy to accept them. And for example, you want your dog to walk on a loose leash, and you reward him in specific area around you, and you do this fast enough, then your dog will learn that being in this area around you is very rewarding for him. So he will like doing that. He won't have the necessity to pull you around. But you also have to watch the excitement level. So if your dog is not able to listen to you at the moment, and that's perfectly natural, we all have situations like that, so it's okay for our dogs too. Then I don't ask something of him. So if I want my dog to learn something, or if I want to work on something with my dog, I have to watch the conditions. So what does this mean? I have to make sure that my dog is healthy, that he's not too excited, and he's not distracted as much, and he gets enough sleep. That's also a very important condition, because if our dogs don't get enough sleep, they get cranky. It's the same with us. So of course we understand that, and we don't expect our dogs to do something for us when we can't provide them with enough rest. So those are the basic conditions to make learning even possible, and it's only fair to ensure them before expecting something of the dog. And it's also, if there is any unwanted behavior, especially if it appears suddenly, the health issues should get checked out. So it's always the first thing to do, because I cannot train, or I should not train anything with my dog if he's not healthy or if there are any health issues. So keep that in mind. And of course, you are gonna implement some ground rules in your house, and of course your dog has to accept them or learn them, but you can always do that in a friendly way so your dog likes to accept them and live by them. For example, if you don't want your dog to sleep in your bed, then give him a safe zone, a relaxation zone of his own, and go with him to his relaxation zone. Give him something nice there, so he just isn't only frustrated because he's not allowed in the bed, which would be normal for a dog, but he also has something good as an alternative. And he really likes to go in his bed too. So it's not just he's not allowed to do something, but he gets an alternative. And that's important for everything we don't want our dogs to do. It's always easier to learn an alternative than to just stop doing something. So if your dog feels the need to chew on stuff, then give him something he's allowed to chew on that fits his needs. So if he likes chewing on something soft, then maybe give him a stuffed animal or something like that. If he likes chewing on some wooden furniture, then give him some kind of coffee wood or something like that. So things that are safe and are also for you okay that your dog chews on it. Also, this applies to kind of every situation where you don't want your dog to do something. Think about what you do want your dog to do. Because for your dog, he's not allowed to do something, okay, but what is he going to do instead? If he has to choose on his own, chances are good that he chooses something you don't like either. So when you provide him with an alternative, then your dog gets his needs taken care of, and he feels safe and he feels understood, and he gets to do what he feels he has the need to do, and also he gets the experience of you being happy with what he does. So this would be a perfect solution. And of course, there are situations where your dog does something totally inappropriate or totally unacceptable spontaneously. And those are situations where you could just try to dissolve the situation as fast as possible. Most often, these situations occur when two dogs meet on a walk. So you have some kind of encounter. This could also be with a person wearing a hat or something like that. And maybe you miss the final signals, or your dog has already learned that those don't get him where he wants, and he explodes on the leash. This is the first time you see that, then leave the situation as soon as possible and start training in a safer environment with more distance and set up your dog to success. To be honest, we can always set up the dog for success or failure. It's our decision because we decide how the situations look like and how we approach things. And therefore, we have to decide very carefully, and we have to also keep in mind that our dogs have feelings and what they are. So, a dog never does anything just to spite you or just to be annoying or just to anger you or something like that. That's a very human thinking. So, I guess you can just say to keep or to build a good relationship with your dog, you need to focus on good things, good behaviors, wanted behaviors, focus on rewards and choose the rewards according to your dog's needs, because that way your dog will see you as a great companion and a source of good things, and avoid bringing your dog in situations where he feels trapped or uncomfortable or something like that. And if these situations occur, try to read your dog and see that he's uncomfortable. And if you see that, get out of the situation and try to change it in a way that your dog can cope with it. And for any kind of punishment, correction, something like that, it's not necessary. Yes, it works, but it destroys any relationship you have with your dog. Your dog will not feel safe around you. In most cases, the dog won't even know why he gets punished. He will connect the punishment with anything that's surrounding him, and this could be very dangerous because maybe a young child passed by while you tugged on the leash, and your dog associates the child with a pain in his neck, and that becomes very dangerous very fast. Also, everything that's painful or scary for your dog generalizes very fast. So, if your dog has an experience with another dog that scares him, for example, he will very fast see every dog that looks a little bit like the one that scared him as a threat. So, if something like that happens, try to give your dog positive experiences with these kind of stimuli either. So, for example, if a large black dog scared your dog, then try to find a large black dog that is really friendly and who can provide your dog with good experiences. Also, you can provide these good experiences. So, if you see the next big black dog, you can just reward your dog very, very early for just looking at that dog and get him more distance to that dog and just show him that even in the presence of something that could be scary, there is also something nice happening. So I think this is a very safe and a very fun way to live with your dog. And of course, some people will tell you that punishments are necessary, but that's just not true. You can also just take the behavior before the unwanted one and reward your dog for that, making the unwanted behavior less necessary for your dog and therefore keep him from doing it. So this is about it for today. And if you have any questions, if you want to talk about any situations your dog is experiencing, or where you don't really get your dog's behavior, or you just want to get a little insight about what he's feeling in this moment, just text me, write me an email, and yeah, I will be happy to talk about it. So see you next time. And of course, if you want to check out my YouTube channel and Watterbällchen.at or scareddog.com, then of course I'll be happy to provide you with these addresses in the description box. And until next time, have fun with your dog and with rewarding him for every good behavior you see. It's gonna be a lot. So have fun and bye!